If you're listening to this podcast, we assume it's probably because you're interested in investing, right? Investing.
Maybe, just a little bit.
Making money.
Yeah.
Growing your wealth.
Being rich.
So we're doing a boot camp. This is for anyone that has been thinking, I need to start investing, but has been kicking the can down the road. Perhaps you haven't even split your pay properly. Maybe you don't even know how much surplus or amount you should be regularly investing each month.
Or you don't know what an emergency fund is, or you have heard someone talk about investing and making money and you want to get involved. Well, then this is for you. This is our investing boot camp.
And the reason that we're mentioning investing at the same time as personal finance is because the two are so intertwined.
So integrated.
If you want to be investing, you need to know how much you can be investing. If you are in debt, you shouldn't be investing yet. If you don't have an emergency fund, you need to do that first. So this is going to take you from being a total beginner all the way through to having an investment portfolio. So the boot camp includes our money and investing course. So you'll do that over a 4-week period with everyone else that is in the boot camp. You'll have access to a private community. You'll be able to learn and watch and do the whole thing on an app, which we've launched, which is very cool. You will have 2 live sessions with Vic to ask heaps of questions just to make sure that you're keeping up.
Yep.
And you also get an annual membership to the Investing Club. So it is quite the package, actually.
Quite the package.
And we're selling it for half price at the moment. And if you would like to join, you can find all the details in the podcast show notes. We would love to have you there.
Yay, see you there.
Gosh, this feels quite fun. I am recording this from inside my new favourite thing. So unless you're watching the video to this, you're going to have no idea what I'm talking about. Can you hear that? That is the sweet, sweet sounds of my new Lexus. I never really thought of myself as much of a, car girly. I've always been one of those people that never really could see myself driving a nice car. And let me just tell you, that has entirely changed. Now I cannot imagine myself in any other car. I haven't known what I've been missing out on, but now I'm absolutely ruined for any other car. I've felt like I've got my shit together while driving this car. I turn up to meetings with confidence. I don't park my car around the corner because I'm embarrassed of it. I don't know, I guess just driving it has made me realize how much luxury and enjoying something that is within my reach. This is not an unrealistic car for me to save for, which, it's just, I don't know, it's just changed my perspective on what I would want to invest in and what kind of car I would feel as a long-term investment. And I think that when it comes to investing in a car, because let's be honest, it's not an easy, quick purchase. You've definitely got to think about it and work towards a big goal, like buying any big ticket item, whether it be a car or something else. But it's just made me feel way more motivated and excited to one day have a car like this. And so what we've done with Lexus is create, it's like a co-branded kind of educational resource. Basically, it's a pretty PDF that you can just download from the podcast show notes. And the purpose of it was just to come up with some really clever, tangible, straightforward steps that will help you save and actually get towards that financial goal, whether it's saving for a Lexus, whether it's saving for a holiday. I think that a lot of the time we think something luxurious is totally out of our budget, but actually it just comes down to planning. Yeah, so if saving for a car or something like that is something that you would like, or you just want to know what those sort of tips and tricks are, then it's a totally free resource and you can just download it from the podcast show notes. But most importantly, thank you so much to Lexus for letting me drive in this absolutely phenomenal car. I have just felt so much cooler being able to drive it. And picking up friends, I'm like, don't worry, I'll drive. No, it's fine. I'll pick you up. Yeah, thank you so much, Lexus. Big, big fan. You've ruined me for life. Welcome to Raising the Curve, a podcast designed to teach you everything that you need to know to be better with your money. Come and learn alongside me, Sophie Hallwright, a total beginner from the finance expert, Victoria Harris.
So I've asked all of the questions you wish you could so that finance, investing and growing your wealth actually makes sense.
Yes, it's expert education, but that we promise will not be boring.
And in the wise words of Cher,
my mom said to me, sweetheart, one day you should settle down and marry a rich man. And I said, Mom, I am a rich man.
Come and talk and learn and laugh with us because together we really can raise the curve. I feel like we're a DJ and someone's come up and been like, play Beyonce, play Beyonce.
And you're like, F off.
I've definitely been one of those annoying drunk girls that's like, can you play? And like trying to come up with some like cool song.
Or
that
at a
they're gonna-
band or at a wedding. Drunk people alone are annoying, let alone drunk people trying to tell you what to play.
What I will say, one of your birthday parties, you hired a DJ and there was like a garden party.
Oh.
Do you know the one I'm talking about? And
It was the shittest music. Great party, just shit DJ.
shit DJ. And like when you've hired someone, like you are not a famous artist.
No.
Like don't play what you want to
But
hear.
also me as the host, I was way too scared to like ask him to change the music. And so all my friends were like, I'll do it. You know, a bit of liquid confidence.
And no one listened.
One of my friends got a can thrown to her head.
For
My
what?
sister got abused. Like it was like, yeah.
For suggesting the
Yeah.
music sucks.
Yeah. I remember people coming up to me like, Vic, can you please tell him? I'm like, yeah. I mean, what do you mean? It's great. I was just like, I cannot be dealing with this confrontation. Like,
Whereas I would be like, I've paid you, put something on with lyrics that people are going to
Yeah.
get down and dirty to. Like this is
Yeah.
not a we're too cool to play.
oh, I want another
bangers.
party. So for anyone who knows the brand Pals, the drink
Oh yeah.
in New Zealand, Australia, where they're pretty global now, I held like the first Pals summer party.
Oh my
It
God.
wasn't actually Pals back then. It was even before it was Pals. So that's my little.
So
yeah.
for context, it was like a drink brand
Yeah.
that
It always has a start of summer party to kind of kick off summer. And it was a friend of mine and he was like, hey, Vic, we need a house with a really big backyard. And I was like, yeah, sure. He's like, no one will be inside. And I was like, perfect, awesome. And now it's like these parties are now like massive. They're ticketed. And
it's all started in Vic Harris's
like,
backyard.
I will forever be VIP.
Can we just talk about what happened at that party? Because there is the most iconic thing that, like, it was the weirdest, most bizarre, but like quite a good story.
Is it podcast worthy?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
If you have any issue with bodily fluids, skip this
Then
section.
yeah. Just put us on, fast forward. I didn't stay there that night, right? I stayed at my boyfriend's at the time. And I remember waking up being like, oh, what a great party. Nothing went wrong. I was like, for the amount of people that were there and were drunk and like there was nothing went wrong. Like that is amazing. Then drove back to my house and the person who organized the party was like, I'm back. We've got something to tell you. I was like, oh dear gosh, what? He's like, your neighbor's not too happy. I was like, what do you mean? He was like, someone has shat on their porch. And I was like, oh God.
Like someone mid-party, we still don't know who it was
No.
or what happened, do
It's
we?
kind of like the biggest whodunit in my life. And yeah, obviously there was.
Could it have been a dog?
Well, I was like, how did they know it was from my party? Anyway, she wasn't very happy. And I just moved into this house. So I was a new neighbor. I hadn't even met her yet. So I had to go and apologize. I'm so sorry for my disgusting friends. Don't even know who it was. Anyway, yeah. I remember we were sitting there in the afternoon on my deck eating McDonald's because we were obviously really hungover. And she leans over the fence and she's like, I'd like to eat my lunch on my porch, but I can't because there's a massive. This is because we're just taking ages to clean it. We're like, yeah, we'll come over and clean it up. We'll come over and clean it up.
Oh, God.
And then we were just, when you're just hungover, everything takes ages. We're like, oh, we'll get to it. Anyway, we're like, right, we need to go and clean. Yeah. But anyway.
The point of this whole
Yeah.
long-winded thing, how we got here, I'm going to backtrack because I do know how we
I've
got
forgotten
here.
even how we got here.
So,
Oh, yeah.
we did a podcast a few weeks ago where we were talking about like fixed income as a potential investing.
And fixed term investments, which just
Yeah.
means like a set period of time, an investment for a set period of time.
So since then, we have been inundated with DJ requests
Yeah.
or, podcast requests
Yeah.
to do an episode and talk about what bonds are.
What fixed term investments are. Is it a term deposit? Is it a bond? Is it the same as fixed interest? Is it, there was just like a lot of questions. Sorry,
Let's not go
yeah.
too fast. That sounds incredibly scary. So we did a poll where we were like, be honest, do you actually want to learn about bonds?
Or do you just want to listen to Justin Bieber?
Yeah, exactly. And we had 100% of people say yes, please, but explain it simply.
100% of people, 7 people.
Okay, look, we need some more people voting.
It's
so
like,
if
it's like I came first. How many people are in the category? One.
you, we're trying out a new thing, all right? Polls are new on Spotify.
Yeah, no, it's great.
There's more than 7 people that listen to the podcast. So look, if everyone
Oh,
can
I missed a few zeros. I mean, 70,000.
But yeah, we also had someone, Samantha, who requested this episode literally forever ago. And we've had this saved for so long. And I don't know why we haven't got to it. I think the reason that I haven't invested in bonds is because I don't totally understand them. And I do hear them spoken about a lot. Like they're in the media, they're in random, I love that I say that. I don't watch things or look at things in the news. However,
Just a Curve Weekly.
but it has become more spoken about. And I think since we did an episode a few weeks ago, that episode was called Should You Be Investing in Fixed Income? We touched on bonds in it, but we didn't go into much detail.
Yeah.
And I think the reason it's probably sparked a lot of people's interest is that in that particular episode, one of the things that we spoke about was there's different like theories or ways of thinking about how you should think about what is in your portfolio. Like, do you have specific funds? Do you have stocks? And one of the things that came up was there's a school of thought that says based on your age is how much fixed income you should have. So say I'm 30% of your portfolio should, inverted commas, be fixed income. And I know that everyone invests with different like
Risk.
So
Yeah.
it's not like a one size fits all, but it did make me think maybe we should do an episode that explains in more detail actually what bonds are, how they work, how they move, and how we should think about does it fit into our overarching invest, because I've got zero.
Do you have in your retirement fund or like your superannuation, are you in a high growth?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because if you're in a high growth, you might have a really, really tiny portion of bonds, but like really, really tiny. If you've got more of a like conservative fund, then you'll have a higher proportion. So you might be investing in bonds but not actually know it through your superannuation or through your pension. That's just something to be aware of. But yeah, maybe let's start. I guess the reason we haven't spoken about it a lot is because of our age, right? Like it shouldn't be a huge part of our investment strategy right now. If we are all, say, going after the same goal of retirement, it shouldn't be. We've all got, well, you and me have got at least 30 years until we retire. We shouldn't have a huge allocation to bonds or fixed interest, fixed income. It's all kind of the same thing.
Do you know what's so funny in that episode that we've just mentioned? I don't know if you should listen to it. I don't think you have. But I actually did challenge the people we were interviewing on that because and given their platform is all about fixed income, right? And so like for a lot of people, that's a great way because it's lower risk. It's the idea, it's, which we're going to get into in a second in terms of like the returns, like how much you're getting back, the time it's invested for. Like there's a whole lot of things to consider when it comes to like where your money's being invested. But I actually did say that to them because one of the things that they said was, the age thing. So say you're this age, you should have this much and whatever. Because both of them, these founders of the platform called Blossom, they were saying they have like almost 100% of their investments in Blossom, which is all fixed income. I did challenge them on it. I was just like, oh, but why? Like, because I'm not scared of the stock market. So it was just like an interesting thing where I was trying to.
It comes down to your goal, right? Like, what are you investing for? So, like, if you were putting all of your money, savings, investments into buying a house in 4 years' time, of course you should have your majority of that in.
And one of them was working towards a house purchase.
Whereas I'm just kind of making a broad statement of like, people our age, if your goal is retirement, then you shouldn't. Like that's kind of, you should be investing majority into the stock market because it's just going to do much more of the heavy lifting for you. So it totally depends on yes, we can talk about ages, but people have different goals within those different ages, right? But maybe a good place to start is like just a recap on the different groups of things that you can invest in, which is what we call the different assets. And like shares, we've touched on it.
Well, we haven't touched on it. We've done 5 years of podcasting.
We've touched on it.
We may have mentioned the stock market from time to time.
But that is when you are owning a part of a company. So just remember that because when we get to talk about bonds, it's very, very different. So like you are owning a share in a business and shares can be very high returning, which means they can do really, really well over the long term. But they're going to move up and down, right? You're going to see share prices move up and down, up and down, up and down, which means they're volatile. It's kind of like, I don't know, really, your emotionally unstable friend.
Yeah.
You don't
Being on
know
a
what
roller
mood she's going to be
coaster.
in. Oh, is it going to be a good one? Is it going to be a bad one? That kind
If
of
she
thing.
had a shit night's sleep,
Yep.
she might be a total nightmare. If she's like eaten very well and meditated
Yeah.
7 times that day, she might actually
Kind
be
of like
quite
walking around
calm.
eggshells. Like,
Yeah.
But overall, she's a really, really, really epic friend.
Yeah.
Then Bonds is like the real chilled friend. That's just like, yo,
What are you up to?
yo, like sensible, reliable, will be there if you call and be like,
Consistent.
yeah, consistent.
I reckon you're a Bond.
I reckon I'm a Bond,
I'm totally shares, don't you reckon?
but I've got a bit of shares in me. No,
I've got a bit of Bonds in me.
Yeah.
No, I don't actually, not at all. No, chill.
The reliable, sensible friend. You know what you're getting.
They turn up on time to coffee.
They turn up on time. They're
They
not
pay
all
you
over the
back
show
when you
in
need
terms
to
of
get your money from brunch.
Yeah.
They're,
they've got your back.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no, the shares have your back too. They're just a little bit
yeah.
all over the show.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
might forget.
Yeah. They add some spice to your life, you know. But with a bond, you are not buying part of the company.
Yes.
You are
IOU.
lending them money. So kind of think of yourself as a bank. You are lending, or like you're lending a friend money going, hey, so yeah, I'm happy to lend you $1,000, but I need it paid back, you know, by the end of the year, and I need you to pay me 10% interest. Imagine. You'd be like, if you.
So let's just think about this then. So an example of a share, aka friend. I love that you put drama queen next to
I
it.
know.
I'm like, rude. So that is like your Apple. It would be Tesla. It would be
Netflix, it'll be,
It's individual companies, you
Yep.
know, and when you buy a share of that business, you're a part owner with all the other hundreds of thousands of people that
Yep.
have invested in that business. Whereas if you are the boring Bond Victoria Harris, you're not buying part of the business.
No.
You're actually you're kind of partaking in an IOU.
Yeah.
For that
And
business.
some businesses, like taking Apple, for example, they might issue bonds. They might want people to loan the money. They also have the ability for people to buy shares in them. Like companies can do both. It's just different ways of getting money to grow, essentially. Yeah. And then we've got property and then cash. Now, when we were speaking about fixed term investments, cash, like
fixed term, remind me, fixed term investments.
Yeah.
As in a bond, or do you mean?
so fixed term investments can mean bonds because they're for a fixed term,
Yeah.
6 months, 1 year, 2 years. They can also mean term deposits, so cash. So
It's so confusing that term deposits are considered cash. I know that technically that's the thing, but honestly, I find that super confusing. And
but let's just park that for one.
okay,
like
park for all of the fixed income.
No, let's park the cash part of fixed
Yeah,
income
yeah,
and
yeah.
let's just talk about bonds
Okay.
right now. But kind of, I guess the best view to look at is fixed term investments means any investment for a fixed period of time.
Yeah,
So it can be term deposits, it can be bonds.
got you.
Yeah. And then we've got a little wild card here, which is crypto, but that's
So that's essentially lots of different ways that you can grow your money over time. The amount that you'll get back on those investments totally varies because some of these investments are actually like a little bit more risky than others. Like
And
your crypto, if this was your wild card friend, this would be like the person you met at like 12 a.m. in like a Mexican bar doing shots.
Yeah,
And you might
100%.
not see until you go to Mexico for a surf trip 6 years later.
the rule breaker.
Yeah.
That's like, let's go jump out of a plane.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Unpredictable, but real fun. Terrifying as well. We're kind of, yeah. But you want a little bit because
you know,
everyone loves a little bit
ironically,
of wild.
You would be fine, I reckon, jumping out of a plane, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
You see, I don't think I would. I don't know if I could get myself out of the plane.
Do you know how I got to do my first skydive?
No.
I was drunk.
Absolutely. F off.
I was drunk when I committed to it.
Oh,
At the
I was
night-
going to say, I'm sure that's illegal.
and then I
to
woke
send
up
someone.
and I was like, I hope she forgot. And then she texted me.
had you already paid for it?
Yeah, we booked it, everything. She texted me. She's like, hey, guys, looking forward to our skydive. And I was like,
And was it that day? You did it
It was like the
hungover?
next day or something.
Oh my God.
And we were all like, we're doing this. You know how when you have a group chat and you're waiting for someone to pull out?
Yeah.
No one, everyone was like, it was like radio silence. It was like, oh my God, we're doing this, we're doing this, we're doing this. And then as soon as one person was like, yep, it's a bet. It was kind of like, oh gosh. But I'm so glad I did it. Actually wasn't that terrifying.
Did it feel like you're falling, or does it not feel like you're falling?
You don't have time to think about it. I remember I like swung my leg. The flight up was scary enough. I was like, it's a tiny, tiny plane. You're all packed in. But I remember swinging my legs over the side of the plane, and you're strapped to like an instructor. And I swung my legs over, and I was like, I wonder if my shoelaces are. Like, yeah. And it was just like, you're just gone. Like, you don't have time to think. And I was like, I just hope my shoes were tied on, but.
I think I'm too much of a control freak.
And you're so far. You're so far from the world. It's tiny. Whereas a bungee jump, way more scary. There's rocks like just there. Lol, funny story. We came down to and we watched everyone's videos, like all of our friends. It was quite funny, and everyone's faces.
Is this with like a GoPro in the?
They film you, and then you can obviously buy it, for like $100 or something. And we were watching everyone's. We're like, oh my god, your face. And then we watched the last friend, and he completely passed out.
No,
and he
didn't
know. He woke up at the last
He didn't realize he'd passed out.
No, because he woke up and obviously thought it was really short, and his whole time he's just.
Holy moly.
And it was so funny.
I can't even believe you can pass out. Is that because he was so stressed out?
I don't know. It was
I reckon that might be me.
Funniest thing. And we're like, okay, now it's yours. And everyone was like, oh my God.
You're just asleep the whole time.
And you've just paid for this incredible experience.
You slept through it.
So, bonds.
So what actually is a bond? I feel like we've covered this.
Yeah.
So it's essentially, let's say company A wants to have $50 million injected into the business for the next 3 years to grow some initiative.
Loaned to the business.
Yes.
So I think that, it's like it still has to pay it back.
Yeah, but I mean, that makes total sense to me. Like, it's basically, we need 50 million. We don't want to take on new shareholders.
Yep.
So we're going to do this as a bond, which means they obviously have to pay interest or like an agreed return, which is what, generally like 5% or something?
Yeah, it depends. Like, there's obviously riskier companies that you would lend money to. You'd be like, you know what, you're pretty risky. I want you to pay me 20% return. And there's other ones like the government. You'd be like, you know what, you're not going anywhere. I'm happy for you to pay me like 4 or 5%.
Government, supermarket, etc.
Yeah.
What would there be a scenario where a bond does return something like 20%? Or is it generally like under 10%? Because 10% is sort of stock market return level.
Yeah, it would be a very risky kind of what we call a junk bond.
Junk bond?
Junk bonds, yeah. Those are very, very risky bonds. And
Who wants that?
Well, someone that wants a 20% return.
Right.
Yeah. But there's a risk, right? Like there's no investment where it's safe and you get a great return. Then everyone would do it. So there's always, if something, and this goes with anything, bonds, if you get a random phone call from a scammer, if they're like, look, I can give you 50% return, that just screams risk to me. Do you know what I mean? It just screams like, why are you paying me so much for this investment? Do you know what I mean? Like, there's just got to be risk. So anyway, so you lend a government, a company money, and they pay you back in regular intervals, as well as paying you the lump sum at the end.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's what the payment's called a coupon, and it's kind of like a coupon. You know, when you it comes from couponing, where you like get a deal. Yeah, which is quite weird. But yeah. So say
it's almost like an automatic payment into your account over time.
Yep. And so if it's 2 years, they might pay the coupon monthly. They might pay it 3 monthly. Like, they're structured in all different ways.
Sounds so admin for the person getting the money and the business paying it out.
Yeah.
It just feels like a lot of admin.
But I guess what's the alternative? You give away equity for your business, which could be worth, millions or billions, or you give away control, you give away equity. So, yeah. So if you think about it for a government, right? Like, you cannot buy shares in the government.
Imagine, I want to buy a part of the UK.
The only option is for them to issue bonds and for people to lend them money to do things. Obviously, they get taxes and stuff. They get revenue other ways. But like, one of the ways that they can get money is through
bonds.
People. Yeah. And so they might be like, look, we need a new bridge. It's going to cost us billions of dollars. We're going to issue a bond. Who wants to give us money to help fund the bridge? And then the bridge might start earning like a toll revenue that pays they pay the loan back. So it's like there's so many. It might be a new hospital, it might be, but a lot of times it is for like infrastructure, like roads, bridges, like that kind of stuff.
Why or like how or where would you even find that opportunity? And also if you were going to buy a bond, like let's just say I wanted to buy a UK bond, do you get to see the detail of how and what they're using that money on? So for example, if like the UK government were like, we need to build a bridge and we need 50 million to do it. If they issue a bond, do they specify we're building a bridge on the corner of blah, blah, blah? You know, is it that detailed, or is it kind of just like?
You can get that information if you want, but it's more at the company level, right? Or at like, do you trust the company? Do you believe that the company can pay this back? You'd be looking at kind of like when you're investing and you're watching the profits the company's generated, right? When you're watching the profits that this company's generated, you're looking back in history and being like, oh yeah, they've grown their profits every year. Okay, that gives me some confidence they're going to do it in the future. You would look back at a company issuing bond and go, oh yeah, they've done it before. They've paid back their bondholders. Therefore, this one is pretty low risk.
But I'm not meaning like in terms of a risk assessment. I'm not meaning if I was buying UK bonds, I'm not worried about the UK government not paying it back.
Well, that's why UK government bonds, the return is so low.
Right.
Because exactly that. You're not worried about them not paying it back.
But then my other question though is, let's just say though that I'm not stressed about the payback then. Do I get visibility on what they're using the money for? Let's just say I'm interested. Or is it they're not like, we're issuing a bond to build a bridge. It's like they're just issuing a bond. And if you want to, you can find out what they're spending it on.
Yeah, it's a bit of that. But like, what does it matter what they're spending it on from your point of view?
I think because so why do you care?
Yeah. I'd be more worried about what the return they're going to.
No, I guess I'm trying to give context as to like, firstly, who would buy them. Secondly, when it comes to investing, for me, I like the idea of understanding where my money's going and what it's doing, and I just find it interesting. Like if I'm invested in a company, I know the company, I understand what they do, I know what their products are. The difference with the bond is it's kind of just, I think the reason we haven't talked about it is because, yes, it's boring, like we're building a bridge, but
I think
I'm curious.
It's a really good point that you make though, because I think when you're investing in bonds, you're investing in them for the predictability. You want to know, okay, this month I'm going to get paid this month I'm going to get paid this, or this year, you know, this is my return. I can see it. It's not going to change. That gives that predictability, which is why bonds, a lot of older people invest in bonds because they don't have income. You know, they're investing in them in their retirement. They want that steady, predictable income that they can live off. So that's why you're so excited about investing in shares, right? Because you're like, oh, what product are they going to launch next week? And what, you know, like that's the excitement that comes with investing in shares. But it also comes with frustrations, because that's why we have to invest in lots of things, because a lot of those things don't happen predictably or like, you know, regularly. You know, you have no idea what your Netflix return is going to be in a month's time. Whereas if you invest in a bond, you would. And that's the difference.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So for some people, and you in particular, you might actually, I don't care about the predictability. I'm investing for the long term. It gets me way more excited to invest in companies and know what they're doing. And that's great. Other people at certain points in their lives or for certain goals are like, I actually don't want that fear or that excitement. I just want to know what my return is and what my money can grow at, because I like the predictability.
Do you know what I would love to know? Maybe we do a poll. A poll or a question or something. If you're listening and you can see it, we'll have hopefully figured out how to put it underneath this episode. I would really love to know, are you interested in the idea of bonds or like something that's like fixed income, something that gives like a steady, reliable return or not? Like I want to know if people are interested in that. Would you consider that kind of investment if it made sense for short-term stuff?
People could have also been burned in the past, right? They might have invested in the stock market and not diversified, and actually lost money and be like, you know what? I don't want that feeling ever again. I just want to invest in something steady. I don't know, you know, like everyone's so different. People might have kids. They're like, I just don't want to take the risk, but I know I want my money to grow higher than inflation, so I'm going to invest in bonds. So there's a little bit of growth, but not too much. I want a little bit of spice, but not too much spice. I just find not everyone's like you.
Yeah, I know, but that's what I mean is I find it really hard to understand how someone wouldn't want their money to grow at a much faster rate. That's what confuses me. I'm like,
over the long term, though, we have to keep saying that.
Yeah. But I am meaning that. When I think of investing, I'm not thinking of investing for the next 6 months.
Well, then I 100% agree. I think if you have greater than 10 years until you retire.
Or 5 even.
Yeah, you should be investing in majority of money in the stock market, not in bonds.
So I guess bonds or fixed income is great for shorter term things. If you need the money in the shorter term, then it makes sense to put your money in
Or if you need to live off your investments.
Which is generally when you're older.
Yeah. I mean, if I could have millions in bonds and just be living off the interest, it would be quite nice.
So is that kind of the thing? If you have way more that you can put in and you can be living off of the return, then fine. Yeah. But a lot of people who are younger don't have the money.
Like my parents, for example, like they're older, but like age aside, like they sold their house while they bought a new one, putting all that money into the stock market, or like, that there's so many different, I guess, stages in life. If you sold a business and you didn't want to take that risk again, there's a lot of different reasons why people would invest in bonds.
Is investing in bonds, given what's going on in the stock market right now in terms of, Trump being in power, people feeling a little bit like shaky about that. If someone has been watching what's going on and they're not thinking this is a buying opportunity, they're thinking, holy shitballs, I don't want my money in the stock market.
Yeah, that could also be, exactly.
That would be a time for them to be like, okay, bonds is my thing.
Totally. And bonds are considered a safe place, right? Or a safer place. And so when the world is uncertain or global growth might be slowing or people think the stock market might not do as well, people will put more, maybe they've gone from 50% to 70% of their portfolio into bonds, for example.
Oh, I'm so excited to be telling you about BePure, which is an amazing New Zealand brand that does the most high quality, beautiful supplements, vitamins. They are such a pillar of health for me. I love taking them. And ever since I've been home in New Zealand, this has been a part of my daily investing in my health routine. So the 3 products that I wanted to talk about today are all a part of their BePure Immune Essentials pack. So there's 3 of them that are really important in the lead up to winter. When you get the tickle in the throat, you get the slight running nose, and it really could be game over. These are the products that are going to hopefully prevent you from getting sick, but also help you rebound if you're starting to not feel so good. So the 3 products are the Super Boost Vitamin C, which is high strength vitamin C. It's good for your immune health, energy, skin. It's exactly what you need in the colder months. It's like inhaling nearly 40 oranges worth of vitamin C. So this is just like an absolute go-to. The next is Zinc Restore. This is amazing for honestly what feels like everything. It's gut health, immunity, your hormone balance. And then the third one is the vitamin D, Vit D Restore. It's sunshine in a bottle. You don't get enough sunshine in winter. I don't care how many times you walk outside and put your face in the sun. It's not enough, and this is a really brilliant way to make sure that you're keeping on top of your vitamin D. So if you would like to, you can get 20% off their Immune Essentials pack just by being a Curve listener. So all the details are in the podcast show notes, but essentially you can get a 3-month supply. They're delivered to your door month by month. You don't have to think about it. It's a real win. So if it's something that you would like to factor into your budget and you want to start investing in your health and make sure that you don't have to take sick days, I mean, come on, how good. So for all those details, you can find them in the podcast show notes.
I think the one thing to be aware of is there is a lot of, just like there is different types of companies that you can invest in. So some might be small companies, big companies, tech companies, healthcare companies, whatever. There's also different types of bonds to invest in. Like we talked about government bonds. If we think of like a spectrum, you've got government, so we're in the chill zone of bonds. Mm-hmm. Like government bonds are like the sleepiest.
They're taken as Xanax.
Boring. Like they are marginally above cash, right?
Right. So like the difference between leaving your money in a transactional account.
They're pretty much holding hands with cash. Yeah. They're like, they're pretty risk-free. Yeah. They're boring. Yeah. Just like governments are pretty boring. And then you've kind of, if we're moving along the spectrum, you've got corporate bonds, which is like companies, like you said, like Apple issuing bonds, slightly more risky because, they're not with the government, they're with a company, and companies have a whole mountain of issues sometimes. Usually get a better return though. So, we're saying for government bonds, say the bond returns about 3%, then corporate bonds would be more like 5%. So, yeah, little bit higher. Then if we move up the spectrum even more, we've got what we call these junk bonds, which you're getting in the tens. Like you're getting
Junk bonds.
These are the high risk bonds. They're usually the companies on their knees going, help.
Right. And so with those, how would you decide? I don't know, I guess like let's say they were giving a 10% return or a 15% return or something.
Yeah.
Would you, I mean, it feels quite intense to be like, go look at their financials, go do this. Like what would be the things that you would need to look for to be, because is the chance that you actually could get none of your money back or halfway through that bond it just stops?
Yeah.
And they then can't pay you back because they've gone bankrupt or whatever?
Exactly. Yeah. So, and we're not talking like 10%, right? We're talking like less than 10, like it's like.
Why bother? If you could get that in the average in this terms of like, the index of the S&P 500 is on average 10% and that's 500 companies. Why would you go so risky and choose one random junk bond?
Well, that's why it's about 6% that they're paying.
That's nothing.
So it's not, so we're not, remember we're still in the bond camp. We're still, that's high for bonds. We're still at the bond.
Yeah, but if you then compare a junk bond to the S&P 500 or...
But remember, we've got to keep coming back to people that invest in bonds. They want the predictability.
But it's not predictable because it's a junk bond. It's about to be thrown in the bin.
Yeah, but it's still in the like fixed term, lower risk investment.
Is it still lower?
Yeah, so it's still, it's
because
we're getting into the nuance.
Do you know what I mean? It sounds very risky. Like if a company's on its knees and it's saying help.
Well, not like maybe I was a bit dramatic, but like, out of versus government,
Right.
It's like we're still in the lower risk investment camp, and I'm talking about the risky grandma. Like grandmas in particular are very low risk. They're not going to do anything like crazy. And we're talking about the crazy Auntie Betty in there is not nearly as crazy as like the crazy teenager. Do you know what I mean?
It's so weird though, because honestly, like as someone that doesn't invest in bonds and is like, trying to be open-minded about it, the idea of a junk bond, like the way that it's been explained to me, sounds far riskier than the stock market.
Let's not spend too much time on it because there's like very few junk bonds. Like I'm just trying to say there's like a spectrum.
When you get schooled by the teacher, okay.
And also I think don't get too concerned. Like it's good to know there's different types of bonds. Like there's green bonds, which are bonds that are only used on green projects, so climate friendly projects, solar panels, that kind of stuff. It's good to know there's different types. There's governments, there's corporate, there's junk, there's green. But I think for someone that's like, I want to invest in bonds, but I don't know which one to pick, again, there's bond ETFs. There is bond funds. Like there is
too many options.
There's ways to get diversification across different bonds so you don't have to pick government, corporate. You don't have to know which ones are good if company's going to default and not pay it back. It's like someone's done that for you and they've created a fund. And that's what usually like a conservative fund or like if you
give your money with like a managed fund or something.
Yeah, they'll have bond funds and they're investing in lots of different, like they'll have some mainly government, then they'll have some corporate, then they'll have some junk bond, like they'll have a whole lot because so it's like if you're like, oh gosh, I don't know what shares to invest in, just go with an ETF. Go with an exchange traded fund. If you don't know what bonds, go with a fund, go with an already created group that you don't have to do the picking for.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Yeah.
I think it would be amazing, Vic, if you could, in the investing club this month, come up with 3 bond ETFs or 3 bond options for people if they want to look at some of these but are feeling a bit overwhelmed by what you've just, because as soon as you were talking before, I was like, oh my God, like the thought of having to go and pick, even picking an ETF, I'm like, oh, I just don't even know where to start.
Yeah. And I think people would have that same mentality when it comes to shares, right?
Yeah.
If they don't know and they're not familiar with it, it's like, oh my God, do I buy Netflix or I buy Google? And it's like removing that overwhelm can be done in all different asset classes, right? Like it's like there's even cash funds, there's property funds, there's bond funds, there's
But I
can't
think
say.
that that's the thing, though, is when there's so many.
Yeah.
It's like
Oh,
going
yeah.
to a restaurant with like 17 pages and real small font. You're like, okay, there's literally every cuisine here I could think of, but like that's overwhelming to me,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And so I think if you've got someone that's like, these are the chef specials.
Yes.
So if you could just do that in the investing
I'll do
club, that
some
would be
chef specials.
some
Chef
chef-
specials. Wow.
That would be awesome.
Yes.
If anyone does want to join the investing club or learn about some of what these investing ideas are, we'll put the link in the podcast show notes.
Yeah. But the easiest way to invest in bonds is either through funds, or you can actually do them directly through trading platforms as well.
In the UK and New Zealand.
In the UK,
and
New Zealand,
Australia, everywhere.
Yeah, you can
Maybe
do, yeah.
with the ones that you select, we could do like universal options so that people, regardless of where they are, if they do want to put a little bit of money into this
But
type of investment.
It's also, being aware, if you are picking one bond, it's the same as picking one company to invest
Yeah.
in. So either do your research and invest in multiple, or use an ETF or a fund, because just like putting all your eggs in one share basket or one company basket, it's the same with bonds. It's just a different way that they get money, but it's still the same individual company, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Like if you don't know that a junk bond, I don't know, a particular junk bond or a green bond or whatever is the right one for you, just like if it came to picking one particular company in the AI space, you go for the diversified option, which is an ETF, which is kind of like the best and the worst and everything put together so that you're diversified.
Yeah. I think it's worth talking about when interest rates increase and how that impacts bond returns as well.
Yes, because I think with that, my main question with bonds is depending on what is going on in the market, like, and also like macroeconomics, like what is happening globally, does that then mean that it's a better time to get a bond? Does it mean that you get better returns for bonds? Is it totally irrelevant and it kind of doesn't matter? Like, are there times in economic cycles where it's like, cool, it's a good idea to buy a bond?
Yep.
Or is it purely based on how old you are?
No, there's definitely like, I guess, more strategic ways that you can invest in bonds if you were like a bond trader, for example, and you're like on there every day being like, oh yeah. But I guess the overarching thing is that if interest rates go up, so say New Zealand or the UK, the interest rate went up, this means that borrowing money is now more expensive. So your mortgage rate's going to go up because you're borrowing money from the bank to buy a house. So
which means if you're borrowing money from someone for a bond, the interest rate that you return it at goes up too.
yeah, you're demanding.
That makes so much more sense.
You're
because
demanding a higher interest rate, like it's as a lend,
so
yeah.
interest rates go up, the returns on bonds can be better.
Yeah. Well, investors are like, well, why would I lend you money when interest rates have gone from maybe like 1% to 2%? It's like, I want more than that, because otherwise I'll just put it in the bank and in that. So it's like, if interest rates are going up and up and up and up, then investors will demand higher returns from bonds. So bond rates will go up and up and up and up and up. Yeah.
So essentially, really, really simple terms, interest rates go up, the returns you could get on bonds go up too.
Well, and just think of it from an investor sense, right? Like if I'm sitting here with say like $10,000, I'm like, where should I put it? And there is a term deposit in the bank, pretty like it's cash. There's very, very low risk, almost non-existent risk. And that I can get 5% on that. And there's a bond over here that I could invest in that's got more risk. It's with a corporate, they want to build a
Toilet.
new facility or something, yeah. And they're only paying me 3%.
Why would I go
There's
the riskier
absolutely
option?
why on earth would I do that? So therefore, everyone would choose the cash in the bank, and therefore this company over here
Can't get a bond to save your life.
we'll do it 5.5, and that's better than the bank. And everyone's like, oh, okay, now yeah. So that's kind of in the simple form. That's how it works, and that's why bond prices will always, well, not always, but
slightly better than-
but they need to be more attractive.
Got it. Cool.
Yeah.
Should we do a few key takeaways?
Should I ask you?
Sure.
Like when would bonds make sense to invest in your life?
When I am older,
Mm-hmm.
it could be a good way to shuffle my money into something that's going to get me a return that's bigger than inflation, that's better than like a term deposit, but is like pretty chill.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I think at that stage of my life, if I have quite a lot of money, which I'm hoping I do, then the amount of return I would be getting on those bonds actually could be quite decent in terms of living on. So I'm not like chewing away at my main amount of my money, but I'm getting kind of like almost a salary from my bonds. It could be if I am close to needing the money.
Like a mum in the crowd being like, yes, you got it.
So like if I need my money to buy a house, if I'm saving for a trip, if I'm saving for something, and there is a chance that the shares at all times of the day and night could, drop or tank or go high or down. If I'm going to need that money in a short space of time, putting it somewhere like bonds could be a good idea. So as an example, let's say I'm trying to save up for a new garden. I need lots of new trees, like this beautiful one in our studio,
looks very
which
new.
We've somehow stolen from somewhere in this workplace. Then say I'm investing in all these plants in 6 months' time. I know how much I'm going to need to buy all those plants, and I don't need that to I don't want it to sit in the stock market in case in 6 months, I don't know, Trump's made some stupid decision and the whole stock market fell through the floor. Then I have no money to buy my cool plants. I might shuffle that money into bonds instead for a period of time so that I know it's not going to go anywhere, but it's also not being like eaten away by inflation.
Yes.
And then thirdly, I would say I would invest in bonds if I wanted to just feel like I had a well-rounded portfolio, in the sense that I've got majority of my stuff in like kind of risky, like, higher spicy stocks, whatever. And I don't know, I just felt like for comfort, it makes me feel like I can sleep better at night. I've got a portion of money in something that's much, much lower risk.
Yeah. Or if the world's just a bit chaotic and you're like, you know what, I just want, I'm going to bed too stressed out.
Yeah.
And this is too stressful for me. I want a bit of a chilled part. I want a bit more chill in my portfolio.
Yeah. God, I'm sorry.
You're great.
Do I know
you
everything
were
about
listening?
bonds?
Amazing.
This is like one of our old school episodes when it was like, tell me what a stock is.
Can I just finish on something?
Oh God.
So
is it a quote?
No. It's something going on in the world right now. And so it's quite topical that we're talking about bonds and bond returns. And you may hear people talk about bond yields. Now, yields are just return. Like, just swap out those two words.
Okay.
Like, it's super easy. Yeah. It's like rental yield.
Got
like
it.
your rental return. Yeah. I don't know if I'm just going to open a can of worms and you're going to be like, whoa. But no, okay. Right now, there are rising the bond returns that you're getting in the US are rising because the US is becoming a more risky place to invest. So government bonds, the return that you're getting is going up and up and up because
Donald Trump is a risky investment.
It's an uncertain place. And just like if a company had a bit of a wobble, it's the same with the government. The government is a reflection of the country and the country's having a bit of a like, ugh. So people are like, giving you money is getting increasingly scary increasingly nervous. I want to be compensated. So anyway, so we're getting rising bond yield, bond returns in the US on government bonds. So this means that this flows through to higher borrowing costs in the US. So it's more expensive for the government to fund things because they have to pay people more when they're borrowing the money. So this makes people scared because it means it's going to start impacting the growth in the US because to fund that new bridge now costs a lot more. So what we are seeing is these kind of shorter term bonds. So bonds have lives of, it could be 6 months, it could be 6 years or 16 years, it's kind of, so you can have short bonds, you can have long bonds. What we are seeing play out in the US is because right now it's more risky, we are seeing these short-term bonds pay a higher return than the long-term ones.
Interesting.
I
would love that.
Which is a real recession indicator.
Oh, shit.
It's a big red flag. Yeah, it's like one of the most, it's a
obvious signs of a recession.
Because it's now more risky to buy a short-term bond than is a long-term one, which doesn't make any sense because if you're holding investments for the long term, that should be way more risky because it's a longer period of time. And therefore there's more chance something could happen to that government or to that corporate. So therefore long-term bonds you always get slightly more a higher return because you're taking longer-term risk, if that makes sense. If I'm only lending you money for 6 months, the likelihood of something going tits up is not like, it's very low chance. Well, whereas if I'm loaning you money for 6 years, that's 6 years of what's going to happen in the world, what's going to happen to your company, what's going to happen to the project, what's going to happen,
So you're normally rewarded for giving someone money for a longer period of time, essentially.
And sorry, maybe I should have said that earlier. But yeah, so what we're seeing in the US now is shorter term bonds, so like 1 to 2 years, are now paying more in terms of their return versus
Why
longer.
though? I don't get it.
Because of all the shit that is happening in the US right now. People are getting really, really nervous. The return on government bonds is going up because people are a bit concerned about the government. So think of all those bonds that are already locked in for that long term. They don't change. The return doesn't change on those. Whereas the shorter term ones now, so we're seeing this inversion and getting a bit complex.
So it's almost the idea that like bonds by nature are meant to be loaning money for a long period of time.
Yep.
That is the whole purpose of them.
Yep.
As soon as a government or a country is doing that for a shorter period of time, it's like
No. There's always short-term bonds and long-term bonds. It depends.
so it's just the return.
It's just the return. If shorter-term bonds and the return is higher, which means they're more risky, if that is higher than long-term bonds, that's bad.
So it's almost like there's almost the scales are like wobbling and what should be like the order of return in terms of risk and time is being muddled.
Exactly. And
Shit.
it's like everything's a bit out of kilter because a normal situation is that if you're holding a longer term bond, you pay a slightly more in a return because you're holding it for a longer period of time. Whereas what we're seeing right now, because the current right now is in such a basket case in the US, then bond returns are a lot higher. So where everyone's kind of watching, and this is why the stock market fell. It recovered from Trump's tariffs and then it kind of had another little wobble over a week or so. It was a bit small, but people are watching this now a lot. So quite
Scary, but also interesting.
just interesting now. So now if you read a headline of like government bond yields are rising, like you kind of know what that just means. Okay, government's supposed to be a safe place.
It's not really
Bonds-
that safe right now.
No, yields means returns. Government bond returns are rising. That means bad news because increased return is like you have to be compensated for something, you know. Yeah.
US, it's so icky at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah. So
Icky.
anyway,
Cool app. Cool.
Yeah.
That was so cool.
Cool app.
That was so cool. No, but in all seriousness, that was cool. Real
I
shocking.
don't know why I do shaka.
Yeah, I know. You always do it in text as well. You'll be like, see you at 10. Shocking.
Oh, I like put on my
Can you not?
outfit, get dressed up for dinner, and go, oh, this in the mirror. Shouldn't I? Anyway, take that out. That's really cringe.
No.
But you know,
No, you're not allowed to be edited to not be cringe. That's not fair because I sound cringe all the time.
thank you so much for listening to Raising the Curve. These conversations are designed to teach you everything you need to know to be better with your money, from saving to investing to talking with your friends about your salaries, all of that stuff.
And if you like what you heard, we would love if you could please hit subscribe wherever you're listening and leave a comment. Let us know what you thought about the episode.
And it only takes 1 second and it would really make our week, our month, our year.
Yeah.
So please do it. Okay. Love you.
Bye. Okay, quickly. The Curve was created to empower and educate you about investing, but we are not financial advisors.
Our platform exists for educational purposes only, and it doesn't provide personalized investing advice for your individual needs and should not be relied upon to make an investment or financial decision.
And always remember to do your own research before making any investment or financial decision.
We're here for any knowledge and support you need, but the final call is always yours.
And thanks for being here.
You got this.
Yeah, we know you got this.